Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chai with Us podcast. This is episode number 55. I am Erica, the personal developer. You can also find me at emotional.freedom.
Hello, and I'm Ivana from Oklo Isabel.
Yes. Today we're going to have a conversation inspired by this book that we've read that it's called Ikigai, but I need to look out for the rest of the book because Ikigai is pretty much just a Japanese concept. No, it says the book is Ikigai, the Japanese secret to a long and happy life.
Yes, that's right. So I'm excited to talk about this book. I had mixed feelings about it.
Me
At
too.
first, I couldn't really get into it, and I listened to it, and
Yep.
honestly, a lot of the things that he says I agree with, and I think we both are already doing them.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to hear like their perspective on how to live a long life.
Yeah. I don't know if it was me or the book, but I
Mm-hmm.
was like, for the first hour, I was bored to death. I was like, this is horrible. I don't want to read this. But I also
Uh-huh.
know that I had a few days where I was like, everything was horrible. So
Uh-huh.
I think that a lot of the feelings that I had in regards to the book weren't really about the book.
Yeah.
Because I started and I took some notes, but I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is obvious, this
Yeah.
arrogant, stupid attitude that I had.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just kept listening to it, and on after an hour and 11 minutes, uh, um, I started to get into it and to
Okay.
kind of, enjoying and really like, let me just listen to what they say. Let me take their advice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to an hour and 40 minutes, and they started giving all the advice of these
Yeah.
centenarian people, I was
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm interested, right?
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, it was a little bit hard for me to get into the rhythm. But
Mhm.
once I really heard about all these centenarians and the advice that they had to give us, I felt better about the book because before it's just I don't know. It was my mood as well. I have to
Mhm.
recognize, but it was also like, okay, so here's what they do. In this village, they do this, and on that
Yeah.
village, they do that, and they have a community, and that's how they work in Japan. I was like, oh my god, is this book gonna be like this all the time?
I like that he talked about the blue zones, which for people that
Mm-hmm.
don't know, the blue zones are where people live to be over 100, and they've identified these as different communities all over the world, and most of them are actually islands. So
Yeah.
they've like went to there and they've done so many different studies. Many different people have done different studies on these, trying to figure out like what is it that these people are doing to live such a long life. And
Yeah.
I think what they've discovered is that it's based on them having close knit communities with each other and helping each other out, and that is what brings them a happy life.
Yeah. So they had a few things that contributed to their living the happy life. Community
Yes.
is a big one. And as I read through the book and I think about it, I just had this experience I shared with you that I had like a few days where I wasn't, on my best behavior,
Uh-huh.
mentally speaking. Yeah, I tried to be nice to everybody, but mentally speaking, I wasn't on my best behavior or mood. But yesterday, I had a meeting with this woman that we've met online, and we decided to create like this accountability flow,
Okay.
and just the fact that we sat down and had a conversation about our issues, we have things in common, we're kind of doing the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. And for me, it was just like, you know, my
A
problems,
relief.
yeah, my problems did not disappear, but just the fact that
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to someone and she was like, I see you because I'm struggling with the same thing, or when
Mm-hmm.
this happens, I do that. And
Mm-hmm.
it gave me such of a, like I'm not alone thing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it is important. And nowadays I'm a little bit worried with COVID. We don't
Mm-hmm.
hang around with people
That's
too
true.
much, right? And
Yeah.
with this culture of achieving your goals and sometimes I do make this mistake Like I
Mhm.
don't do things with my friends because I'm busy building my business. And it's like, and
Yeah.
it's so important, and I feel so much better when I connect with people,
Mhm.
that I was like, yeah, I can see how they can, how that can contribute to you, you know, for you to live more
Absolutely.
years.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's something about finding someone. We talked about it as like third culture kids. That's a community that we
Hmm.
are both part of.
Yeah.
And it feels great when we find another third culture kid because we already have so many things in common and they
Yeah.
understand what happened to us because we experience the same things. And so there's a
Hmm.
community within that. And I love that aspect about it.
Yeah.
Um, what I also found is like, do you want to define what the Ikigai is?
Well, I think that simply put is your passion, is
Yes.
your purpose, the
Mm-hmm.
spark that makes you want to live. That's what ikigai is.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what your ikigai is, they say throughout the book. And if you go read about ikigai, if you don't know what it is, then your purpose in life is to find what that is.
Yes.
And dude, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Like my life changed like that once I found a purpose for
Mm-hmm.
living, for being here. It's just like it's a complete different universe. How do you feel
Yeah.
about this?
Yeah, well, what they said is like it's what you're good at, right? What the world needs and what you can get paid for. And once you have a good combination of those things, that is your ikigai. That's your reason d'etre. It's your reason for being. And
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. I think like it changes once you find out like what your purpose is, and then you start living your life in accordance with it.
Yes, yes, I absolutely love this idea. And one thing that they talk about throughout the book as well is that these people that live longer, they don't retire.
That's right.
And
Yes.
they also say by at the beginning of the book, I think they say that there is no word for actually retiring from
Yeah.
your job in Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that, you know what, that's so interesting. Like if you have something that you love, and oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, do you remember the story of this man that retired from the job, but he went back every day until he was, I don't know how many years old, and he just sat down at his old job and draw. And I think that's like so beautiful and
Mm-hmm.
so different from what we hear,
Yeah.
right? Because people are like, okay, I'm going to work, make a lot of money, and then retire. And I don't have to work again in my
Yeah.
life. I just do whatever I want.
I think
And
you do that when you're like thinking of work as a job, which is
yes.
for like that gives you money to pay the bills at home, and it's an ends to a mean, it's a means to an end. But when you find your actual reason for being, it's so different because you start living according to it, and it gives you purpose. And I think we all need to have like a meaning of like why are we here? Like what is our, you know? And the thing that they said in the book was, look at when were you the happiest? Like, what were you
Hmm.
doing when you were the happiest?
Yeah. Yeah. And I
I think,
also, yeah, tell
go
me,
ahead.
tell me.
I think my happiest time was when I was connecting with third culture kids, when I was connecting with people from many different cultures
Mhm.
and just having a conversation with them and feeling part of a community. I think that's when I was the happiest.
Mhm. I was the happiest when I was helping someone.
Yeah.
Always. Like, having a conversation, giving them advice.
Mhm.
Sometimes I receive messages from random people thanking me for something that I've said, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
40 years ago. And I'm like, oh my God, that's really cool. That's really cool,
Uh-huh.
And that's really when I feel the happiest. I'm just like, the other day I somebody commented on my Instagram about something that I posted, and
Uh-huh.
then I commented back, and she was like, you know what, I needed to hear that. And I was the happiest, within 3 hours I was like, you know what, if that's this, I live for
Yeah. Mhm.
she needed to hear that, she got it, I provided, that's it.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
great when you can provide a message from the universe for someone to hear.
Right, isn't it? It's so special. They talk about also like being curious, and
Mhm.
if you don't know what your purpose is, if you don't have this passion, just go and look for things, like be curious about life. And
Mhm.
another thing that I also love is when it comes to talking about ikigai and everything, they also talk about like it doesn't need to be any something big.
Right.
uh,
Yes.
they give very practical examples of people that work in factories, like,
Mhm.
people living a very simple life that we consider
Mhm.
simple, but at the same time, like if it is your purpose,
Yeah,
then
do you
you
remember
should.
the elevator operator, the woman who was hired in the grocery store just to like press the elevator button, and
Yeah,
she made it a ritual. So the book talks
yeah,
about how like you need to make your ikigai like a ritual, like something that you do that brings you in the flow of life, so you're flowing with life.
yeah. um like seriously, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but there are a lot of concepts that I loved about this book.
Mhm.
I loved the part where they were talking about food,
Okay. Yes.
because we don't see so many times, people refer to food in such a simple way and easy
Mhm.
to grasp. Like it's not very complex.
Right.
They explain it in a very um, oh, sorry, I was trying to see my notes. They explain it in a very simple way, like eat until you are almost full, which is
Right. At
something.
80%.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, we don't do that at
No,
all.
we
Like,
don't.
we don't do that at all. We overeat so much, like, seriously. And I think that it's always a good reminder, of what you are supposed to do. Like,
Mhm.
they share things or advice like eat until you're almost full, the 80% rule, eat a lot of vegetables, little sugar, little salt.
Mhm.
Oh, and another thing that I also like is when they talk about exercise.
Yeah.
When they're like, you know what, just move your body.
Right.
It
Exactly.
doesn't
Ride your
matter.
bike.
Right. And it's not like, okay, you have to exercise every day.
Mhm.
And they're like, no, you have to move your body every day. You have to stay active every day, to walk
That's right.
every time you can. And oh my God.
Yeah.
And I
And one of
was
the main concepts was to
happy.
have an active mind, to always be like doing something, keeping your fingers busy. That was
Yeah.
one of the secrets to success.
Yeah. And it's I like the fact that they said, do a lot, always do something, but do one thing at a time.
Yes, yes, that's very
And
Zen.
for me, this is like, I need to listen to this.
Yes, because Geminis don't like to do that.
Listen, Ivana, I was walking my dog while I was listening to the audiobook and writing notes at the same time. And I was like, yeah, I'm totally doing it. I'm totally doing it. But yeah, because it is true. It's not because, like, some of us are, we say that we are multitaskers, but it's
Yeah.
already proven that we're not multitaskers. There's no such thing as a
Mm-hmm.
multitasker. Just like, I don't know what's the percentage, but it's a very low percentage. It's just that we are focusing our attention, on one thing and skipping from one thing to the other
Mm-hmm.
very rapidly. And this
Yeah.
is even counterproductive, like it's not good. So I like that reminder of, you know what, if you are doing one thing, then do this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in our society, we totally need to hear that.
Yeah. I love what stuck out to me was like them talking about having a ritual. So at the beginning of the day, start your day with a ritual and end with a reward. And I think we both kind of do that. Like in the mornings, we both have our own rituals that we follow. And then at night, we most of the time do a meditation. It's kind of like our reward. And the book also talked about how good meditation is for the mind and why it's so important to meditate. And they said
Mhm.
that meditation was like an instant vacation. I love that.
Yeah,
I like highlighted that
that's so
sentence.
cool. And talking about the reward, there was also a part where it says that when you do a task, when you complete a task,
Mhm.
that it's related to your. They talk about also the state of flow, and this is
Mhm.
something that we pursue a lot, right? To make it easier for you to get into this state of flow, to give yourself a reward,
Yes.
so because it helps you go back to that state. They have such
Mhm.
great like, seriously, I do recommend this book. Because, but I think it's a book that we should read and not listen to.
Yeah.
it's a very practical book. It's a book for you to highlight things and
Mhm.
start putting things into practice,
Mhm.
and then go back to it, because they had on the audiobook they were talking about PDFs and stuff that I would actually read. Like they have a sun salutation, they have
Mhm.
a qigong exercise on this book.
Yes.
Like it's a very rich book.
Yeah.
Yeah, where was I going? I don't know.
I also like that it mentioned ancestor worship and why that's
Mm.
important, and to have like a small altar in your home dedicated for your ancestors. And I think a lot of cultures all around the world have that, not so much in the US or Europe, but I know that like
Mhm.
other places really do focus on the ancestors.
I think that we have this idea that we're doing better,
That what?
that we're doing a better job at life,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
that the people who that came before us.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have this feeling, but it's just like I think that in general we are a kind of a, I don't want to call us all like arrogant,
Yeah, I know
but
what you mean.
we don't have this respect that I come from a culture, I come from the African culture, right? I was born in
Mhm.
Africa. And we have to to a level that it's, for me it's too much. We have like very, we respect the elders. We
Mhm.
respect the people that came before us. It's just I think it's something very African. Cannot speak for
Mhm.
every African people, but I
Yeah.
think that at least from the Angolan perspective, this is, yeah, this is who we are.
Yeah.
But I was raised in Portugal, and it's not the same thing.
Exactly.
I have to say that it's completely different. You can tell me
Mhm.
whatever you want, but the respect that I see that in Angola we have for old people is not the same that we have in Portugal. Like
Mhm.
not at
I
all.
agree.
I've experienced both. So yeah, yeah, you are right. You are right
Mhm.
that
Yeah, it's the same in
we should keep
Bosnia.
that
In
in
Bosnia,
mind.
most people have a picture of the grandparents that has passed away that's like in the house that,
Mm,
is next to an altar or something. And almost every house has this. And I don't really see that in the US at all, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah. I would love to create a little altar. I'm still to do it. I have to do it actually. I want to
Yeah.
create something and use my yoga studio and put it over there.
You should,
I've
you
been
have the space.
delaying. I have to say, I have the space. It's true. I followed your advice though. Do you know that I have a, well, we will talk about it later.
Okay.
It's a little bit smaller now,
Can't
but
can't
I
wait
still
to
have
hear.
this. I'm sorry, everybody. It's just like there's a lot going on off camera. Um, so, one thing was very surprising for me. They were talking about anti fragility, something like that.
Okay.
Do you remember that part when they
No.
were talking about the importance of being resilient?
Yes.
Okay, so this was towards the end. So you probably, it depends if you have a how do you call it? Long term or short term memory.
Okay.
But yeah, this was towards the end, and they were talking about resilience. And there was this concept that I found very interesting that was like anti fragility, which is like when you are more than resilient, like something happens and you get stronger. Because if
Okay.
you are resilient, something happens and you stay the same.
Yeah. Is this when they
And
were talking about the wabi sabi? Do you
I don't
remember
know.
that?
I don't know. I just got this part, but tell me,
Okay. So the
what's
wabi
about
sabi
you?
is finding beauty in the imperfection.
Uh huh.
So it's like they believe that no thing is perfect, and what they like is like the crack in a vase. They find that beautiful because that's the
Ah,
imperfection.
yes,
And
yes.
I love that because like I think we're all like are so trained and conditioned to look for the beautiful or the what we consider normal. There's no such thing as normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is so different and unique in their own way, and it's our sorrows and our loss and all the things that have happened to us in our life that make us who we are. And those are the
Absolutely.
imperfections in the vase. That's us. That's who we are. We're the imperfections in the vase and the
Yeah,
cracks. That's
absolutely.
what makes us unique and perfect in a sense, right?
Yeah. Look how many beautiful concepts we found on this book. Like, okay, so they share some advice for you to work on your anti-fragility or your resilience.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it because it wasn't like, oh, okay, just go meditate. No, they were like, have more than one source of income. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And
Okay.
when they were talking about this, they were also mentioning people, like
Mhm.
friends, just, and they gave an example of someone that has a relationship and stays too attached to their partner to a point where they forget about their friends, and then they have no partner, and what you're gonna do, because that's what happened to some people. So this thing is just about um, putting in a state where you are already prepared if something goes wrong. And I
Mhm.
love this idea. And they also spoke about, I think I have to open this. They also spoke about like negative visualization.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I like negative visualization. But then I understood that it was like just imagining the worst scenario without
Mhm.
worrying about the worst scenario. And I was
Okay.
like, okay. And I'm all for knowing that life happens, that things happen, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes when I work with people, and especially when we're talking about trauma, people are like, we are like trying to look for a reason for that to
Mhm.
happen. Like,
Yeah.
why me? That must be a reason. And sometimes we find a good reason. Oh, that's for me to serve. And I do
Mhm.
appreciate that. But I think that sometimes like shit happens and that's it. Because
Right.
bad things are going to happen in life. Bad things
Mhm.
happen. Like, are we going to look for a reason and try to but sometimes there is no reason. There's like
Exactly.
life can be chaos sometimes.
Yeah.
So I love this idea that about preparing yourself for things to
Mhm.
change and being aware of the impermanence of things without giving it to pessimism.
Yes, I
I was
agree.
like, yes, yes, like
No,
towards the
because
end
a
of this
lot of
book
us
I was
don't like
sold.
change and we don't want things to change or
Yeah,
end. We just want things to go on forever and everything to be perfect, but that's not life. Life is up and down and
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Life is up and down. You better accept it. That's it. And if you prepare for it, I love this because the examples that they shared, like have different sources of income. That means that if you lose your job, you're not effed because you have a
Yeah.
different source of income.
Mhm.
Have more friends
Yeah.
because if you have more people you can trust, if something happens with one person, well, then it's okay because you have
Right.
a bunch of other people there for you.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, that's true. That
I
is
like what they
true.
also said about like avoid spending time with toxic people. Like so many times we don't realize how
Yes.
much of our energy is affected by the energy of other people. So if someone comes in, they're all like, "Oh, today was a miserable day. Everything went wrong. I lost this, and then I lost my car, and then I was in a car accident," and they're projecting all this negativity onto you, and you're taking that in. And so it's
Yeah.
very important to check your energy and to check other people's energy and to establish boundaries
Yeah.
between that. Now for me, like one of my boundaries is if I know if somebody's energy is completely off and I don't want to absorb that energy, I say to myself, my energy is calm, my energy is cool, my energy is collected, I'm peaceful, I am happy, I'm at peace. Like I'm not accepting this energy. And I say that to myself and it works. It's like a little barrier. It's like
It
no.
works. It works. It
Because other
works.
people,
Yeah.
you know what they want? All these people are very dramatic. They want to come in there, say what they've said, and then they want you to react with the same like dramatic impact that they've had. And then it just, you know what I mean? It's like a domino effect, and then it affects
Yeah.
other people.
Or sometimes they just want to rent, but if you are a
Exactly.
sensitive
Yes.
person, they rent and then they went away and you are stuck with this
Yes.
freaking
Yes.
energy. And this
Yeah.
happens to me a lot. And sometimes I'm like, is this energy, is this mine? Like, because
Right.
sometimes it's not even mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. Another thing that they've said that I found that it was very interesting is that we are so worried about having new goals for the upcoming year and stuff like that,
Hmm.
that we don't focus on getting rid of things, right?
Right.
Instead of And it's true because we focus on, okay, I need more friends, right? But what about the
Yeah,
toxic friends? Maybe you should get rid
exactly.
of the toxic friends. Maybe that should be a
First.
goal of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of yours. And I like that idea. I sometimes they present things in a way that makes you think differently. And
Mm-hmm.
this is what I need for me to keep reading a book or listening to it. It's that gives me,
Mm-hmm.
if it gives me a new perspective, then I'm interested. If it's all the
Yeah,
same, then I'm bored. And yeah,
I agree. They also focus a little bit about like the importance of mantra chanting and practicing Kundalini and Bhakti yoga and Hatha. I like that they mentioned that, even though that
yes,
was like more of an Indian concept,
yeah,
they
yeah,
still went into it. And I love that they talked about the sun salutation.
yes. It's just like you
I
can.
was not expecting that when I first started
Me
reading the book.
neither. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna explain the sense meditation.
Uh-huh.
Ah, yeah, that was
Yeah.
a very nice surprise, and they spoke about qigong as well, which is something that
Hmm.
I am curious about because some people have been mentioning it to me and say that it's really
Yeah.
nice. And yeah, for me it was a pleasant surprise, and it was just like sometimes it's just simple advice. So do you want
Hmm.
to hear? I wrote down some advices.
Did you write
Uh,
down the 10 steps in the back of the book?
yes, I
Okay, so did
wrote, and
I.
I
Yeah, let's share them.
oh, let's share them. Before I share them, I want to share some advice from the super centenarians.
Okay.
Okay, so I have an advice from one person who's okay. I don't know if they're alive or dead. I'm so sorry. But 117 years old. The advice was eat and sleep, and you will live a long time.
Yes,
Sleeping is important. That's one thing
absolutely.
that some of these people they share in between them. They say that they
Hmm.
sleep
And
and it's good for
actual
you.
sleep, not this like you go to bed but you don't get a full
Yeah.
night's sleep, but like actual REM sleep where you go into the deep state and you let your mind rest because that's what your brain needs is time to rest and rejuvenate.
Okay. Okay, we'll do that now. Okay, 110. Self-care, eating sushi and sleeping, and a tremendous thirst for life. I
Yes.
love that. Uh, Another advice. I've never eaten meat all my life. Uh, oh my God. This person stopped smoking at 120. Another person says, keep your mind busy and body busy, eating only 2 meals a day and work for as many years as possible. Never be afraid to die because you were born to die.
Hmm.
Damn.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
never.
like that concept. They all talked about that. They said that like death, like everyone is gonna die and it's just coming, but it's not something to be afraid of. Like it's something natural that's part of life. Like
Yeah.
everything goes through a process.
Yeah. And that it should be, actually, it should be a motivation for us to want to
Hmm.
live better, right?
Yeah.
Because we're going to die anyway. So, like, you might as well do the things you love. And this is one thing that they all share because if we are talking about nutrition and everything, all of the people that participated in the book, they differ, the opinions. But they all say stay busy, do things you love. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
You want to read the 10?
Yeah. So one of the first ones was to stay active, which we already talked about and we both do. It's so important. And you don't have to go and like run every single day. Like walking is staying active.
Yeah.
Doing a sun salutation is being active. Just some form of activity every day.
Mm-hmm.
Then it said to take things slow. So do one thing at a time and practice the way of Zen. Don't fill your stomach. We already talked about that, why it's so important not to overeat.
We'll try.
And,
We'll
and to
try.
yeah. Surround yourself with good friends, get in shape, smile, right? Because if you smile, like you're signaling your body that you're happy and sending endorphins to your brain and you're feeling happy.
Mm-hmm.
Reconnect with nature. I know that you love this
Yes.
because you're always in nature almost every weekend.
Yes. I love hiking. Yes. Yeah.
Give thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Live in the moment. So be present and live in this life now. Don't think so much about the future or the past, but live in the moment and follow your ikigai.
Uh-huh. About living in the moment, I love that the author said, stop regretting the past, and
Yes.
fearing your future.
Mhm.
Stop regretting the past and fearing your future. Because we
Mhm.
all live in this dance, right? Where we're like,
Yes.
oh, I should have, and then what will happen? And then we forget to live in the present moment. Listen, I'm pleasantly surprised. And it was, and that's why sometimes you shouldn't just give up on books, right? You should
Yeah.
keep reading because you may be surprised.
Mhm.
And yeah, I must
I
say
agree.
it was good towards by the third part
I
of the
think
book
I
was
think
good.
for me this book will reaffirm some of the practices that we both already do and reaffirm
Yeah.
that we're on the right path. And who knows, maybe we'll live to be 100.
Maybe I think we have to quit. Well, you're drinking white wine and it's only once a week, no?
No, it's dark. It's a blend.
Ah, it's red. It's red. Why did
Yeah,
I
it's
say
red.
white?
I don't
Red
know.
is
It's
the
red wine.
healthy one. I'm drunk
Yeah.
already.
What wine are you drinking?
Okay, I'm drinking an amazing Portuguese wine. It's a rosé wine called Mateus.
Very
Yes, I
nice.
said it with the Portuguese accent because that's how you say
Uh-huh.
it. And it's nice and sweet, and my dog is barking, but everything is okay. And what are you drinking?
I'm drinking that blend I had last week, a Cabernet with the Merlot. It's
Ah,
really nice.
you know how to live life. Let me tell you.
I'm
ah,
following my Ikigai, being
yes.
happy in the present.
Be cheerful. I feel good that some of the things I'm already following, and
Yeah.
some of the things I sometimes forget. So it's good to be
Hmm.
reminded. And yeah, I advise people to get this book if they want to start taking care of themselves a little bit.
Hmm.
If you are like in your 40s and you're like, what the hell you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be the people I would advise.
I
But
agree, but
that's a good
also
book.
young people too. Like, this is a great way to start your life journey and to figure out like what do you think your purpose is
Yeah, and
to
to
get some
start
idea.
well, you're right. To
Hmm.
start well, it's a good
Yeah.
book after all. It's a good book. If you read it, everybody, if you have read this book, let us know. Let us know what is your opinion, and I would also like to know what's your ikigai.
Yes. I would love to know. Thank you so much
Yes.
for joining us this week. See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.